Two producers, same DAW, same idea. One is a beginner, one is an expert. What truly makes a difference? In today's video, we're going to dive in and take a look at the three main areas that makes a difference between a beginner and a pro producer. And it has nothing to do with expensive gear or expensive plugins. Those three areas are going to be basic arrangement, sound design, and of course mixing. Those three areas are going to elevate your mix and your track to the next level. And best of all, at the end of this video, you're going to be able to apply these tactics and make your songs better. At the end of this video, we're also going to showcase the rookie and the pro tracks so you can take a look at A and B and make a decision for yourself. Let's dive in. So today I'm going to be using Ableton, my go-to program. I've used many different programs, Logic, FL Studios, Cubase, Reason, but I keep going back to Ableton because of its ease and just the creativity of it. Is, I don't know, my flow goes much faster on Ableton. I'm sure we'll do a bunch of tutorials down the line in FL as well, or Logic, which I also love. But today we're going to be focusing on Ableton. So first of all, let me play you this snippet of a record that we are going to be dissecting. So I wanted to get to the middle part here so you guys can really hear the transition, because I think it's really important for the things that we're going to be discussing in all the sections that we're going to be going over. But for section number one, we're going to be diving into sound design. And the main difference between rookie producers and experts is not necessarily choosing fancy plugins like Arturia over here with bass lines like that, because you can achieve cool sounds with plugins like Serum that a lot of you guys are already using for some of effects here that I have the build-ups for. It's more about sound design. You can create cool sounds using any synthesizer, even the free ones that come with Ableton or FL. So we're going to dive into some of those areas in the synthesizer creative aspect of it, using auto pan to create some movement, as you heard on that particular pad. But I would really like to begin our lesson with drums, because I think the drums is where the number one area is in majority of the producers where it lacks. And the number one most important drum is, of course, the kick drum in house in dance music. So this is my kick drum on this particular example. As you can already see that this is the Pro, and right here at the bottom I have the rookie layout of the similar track, which we will go over. But let's take a look at the drums here. So the kick drum, as you can see, the kick drum here is isolated on its own in order for me to control the decay and the high end. So for example, you want to really make sure that the kick drum is snappy enough, especially if you have a long bass line like this, so it plays out nicely together. Now, if I had a long tail on this bass line, then I'm definitely going to be in trouble in terms of trying to mix the low end together with that kick drum, which kind of leads me to the next example that I want to show you, is that majority of beginner producers are not even having the kick drum itself on its own channel. So what they do is they basically, take a drum loop like so. This has a snare already, which is even messier. I put the high cut here just to make it a bit cleaner, but as you could see, it's a mess. So you're not going to be able to really control your low end together with this bass line here. Which actually leads me to the next concern that I want to point out, is that a lot of producers don't really know where to place the bass line, in which register. Sometimes it's too high, sometimes it's too low, but we will get to that in the mixing stage of things. For now, we're just simply focusing on sound design. So take a look at, for example, my drums in this particular Pro one. Nice and crisp. I have the hi-hat, I have the shaker sitting in the register, and then I have, of course, our wonderful kick drum. And in the, in most cases, like, especially the hi-hats and in the beginning producers, they are sounding a bit funky together with the drums. You could just hear that it's very generic and not really fine-tuned in terms of the sound. So again, it's kind of like just slapping things together instead of, going through, 10, 15 kick drums that fit, going through proper hi-hat that really sounds good in the mix together with the track, right? So and then again, like for example, even on the hat itself, as you can see, I have auto pan over here, making it more interesting. Listen. So basically, creating movement is a very important aspect of sound design as well, because you can take, a boring patch and make it interesting with things like auto pan. You can automate those things and make them super interesting. So, and again, for the bass lines, in many cases, I see producers just slapping a bass line together without finding, if it's got to be the low, the high, and all of that. So in this case, for example, I have the low bass line together layered with the high. Together without it. And again, it's super important to low cut, of course, otherwise you're going to create a mess, right? So and then when it comes to sound design, like ear candy also super important. Like listen to this fill that I have, for example. Or this one right here. You see a little section. Nice transitional. Versus, a typical producer will slap some kind of random white noise that sounds like this. Super generic. Yeah. So again, to finalize the section of sound design, You do not need to get fancy with synthesizers. If you're not very good at sound design, I would advise you to get some third-party plugins such as Arturia, because typically I find that basic plugins that come with FL or Ableton or even Serum, if you don't know how to tweak it, it's gonna sound a bit flat, you know, and just kind of boring. Like, look at the sound design I got on this pad here. Lots of automations going on here, as you can see, versus opening up a basic, you know, Serum sound, like, you know, such as Oscillator 1. Now this at least has auto pan on it, but if you take that out, you know, it just sounds flat. You know, it's just like in the center, and nothing is really happening. So that's pretty much you know, the sound design is super key here. And let's move on to the second most important difference between beginner and pro producer. All right, so the number 2 mistake I see in beginner producers, that's going to be arrangement and structure. If you look at the pro idea in terms of in terms of arrangement, you're going to see kick dropouts, you're going to see cool effect transitions, you're going to see this, you know, a little transition here, and then lots of automations. If you take a look at, I'm going to open up the automations on the bass line, for example. Okay, same thing goes for this particular thing. It slowly builds it up. It creates momentum, it creates movement, it creates interesting things that are happening. So one of the, obviously the fillers here, when the kick drops out right here, together with all of these cool effects, you're going to hear. The momentum builds and then drops. Okay, so, and then here's another cool one. Very cool, right? And majority of like the rookie production, I notice, is that first of all, no automation on the builds. So for example, this one would normally just be flat, not really anything happening, and it's just staticky like this. You know, this is the rookie beat here. No transitions, and of course, guys, I'm heavily exaggerating, you know, in terms of this particular example. They're not like, you know, I'm sure it's not that bad, but I'm just showing you like extreme case examples where you have no kick dropouts. So in this case, you can at least build up this thing and then go into more staticky. Let's take a look at this. The bass line also doesn't really do any automation, so here's a little fix at least. Okay, and then obviously do some effects and things like that. So And though, those are the ear candy things that make the difference between an interesting arrangement and a boring arrangement. Because especially for underground tracks, you can have songs that are, 8 minutes long. And if you don't create these interesting transitions, then you're going to be in trouble. And then I highly advise, instead of just slapping some, random effects or white noises, try to create those momentum changes with cool synthesizer effects. Like, for example, this particular sound right here comes from the Mini Moog, which is in the effects section. Like how much cooler is that than just some typical regular sound? So yeah, that's number 2, arrangement and keeping things interesting. And this leads us to the third most important thing in my personal knowledge from experience and what I see from the demos that we receive through the label and stuff. Of course, I probably go through at least 50, sometimes to 100 demo submissions every couple of days or so. So I do notice those things. And number 3, probably the most crucial in my book, is the mixing and mastering and creating space. More mixing than mastering, but creating space. But before we dive in, if you guys are finding these tips interesting and important to you, be sure to subscribe and like and comment down below some of the things that you find challenging as a beginning producer. I check all the comments and I'll be able to answer your questions. You can ask me anything and I'll get back to you. So let's get back to number 3, creating space and mixing. Now, we already discussed the importance of sound selection and having the right kick. So the kick and bass correlation here is where things get really, really interesting. So for example, if we take the Pro mix and we take the kick and we take the bass line, so let's take a look at the low end of the bass line. First of all, let's pull up the spectrum analyzer on the kick. Okay, so it has quite nice low end here. So there's a lot of bottom here. So let's take a look at the bass. Okay, this is actually perfect. Do you see this pocket? That means we're right in the pocket, because the low end, the really low end of the kick is going to fill up this pocket, and we're going to have a nice combination here. Now, if you take a look at the rookie mix, if we take the kick, it has a nice low end, right? It does have a nice low end. And let's take a look at the number 1 mistake that I see guys making on the bass lines. So what do you notice? Do you see all this gap? So there's so much space. So it's basically clear to us that the bass line is in the wrong register. So we're going to go ahead and drop it we're going to drop it 1 step down. Take a look at it here. Okay. Okay, there you go. So if you listen to it with the kick, okay, so now we're in the pocket, right? Now we're in the pocket. So this is perfect. Okay, so the kick and bass correlation is absolutely important. Number 2 is, if the bass line requires it, you should probably take a look at the high end of the bass. and add to make some to fill up the space. Definitely low cut everything below 150, so together you have, because on the high bass line you could put some nice effects and you know, make it nice and juicy, just like I have here. The CLA, which is a really nice one. Another mistake on the bass lines I see, like if your low end is flat, you can use our bass to fill it up. So without, I mean, such a big difference. I love the R bass. If you guys are not using by our bass by Waves, I mean, you're missing out. Definitely check it out. Incredible plugin for that low end. So that's the kick and bass correlation. Okay, so now we're gonna go into you know, basic things like, for example, you know, any sounds. Right? As you can see, it doesn't sound like it has a lot of low end, but it doesn't matter. I'm cutting it. It doesn't matter. You gotta cut it. I have everything cut. Every effect. Right? Everything is cut. Here's another example that a lot of guys, when it comes to mixing, they just overlook. Like, for example, take a look at my hat. Okay, so here's my hat. Okay, as you can see, I have it cut, but if we go ahead and cut this, right? I don't know if you can hear it, but look right here. There's low end here. Do you see? You can't hear it, but it's there, and it's gonna muddy up your mix. And a lot of guys think, oh, it's a hi-hat, you don't need to bother cutting it. Shaker, doesn't matter. I don't care. I cut it still. You see? It's like most likely no low end, but I'm cutting it anyway. It's super crucial. Super, super crucial. So that's and then even like this big high white noise, you know. You know, let's see what it has in the bottom register. Oh my God, look at that. That's a mess. That's just a mess. Do you see? So creating space is super important, which is the reason why I don't like using loops like that with the snare, because it, like, I can't EQ the snare, I can't, you know, isolate things and all of that stuff. So that's definitely another thing. Now let's move on to let's take a look at the master here on these. So what do I got on the master? I got the utilities, which is just controlling the volume, so I can boost it or lower it, because I don't like to squeeze things too much. Take a look. It's like sitting at like 8.5, you know, I'd say RMS, and that's like a perfect place for me to find just enough dynamics. And usually I have a little bit of an EQ. I like to boost some highs right here, and then also the high mids, which is the sweet spot. And when I'm EQing this, I'm gonna show you how to kind of like find that sweet spot, because without it, look, let's turn off the EQ. And now with the EQ, do you see how much richness that adds? And most of the time it's usually the high mids, which is right here. So watch, I'm gonna sweep it. Yeah, you find the sweet spot and you place it. It just kind of lifts the entire mix. It's a really nice trick. And then as you could probably see at 50 hertz, I have a 1.3, like I'd stick to like 1 dB probably boost just to give it a bit more volume on the bottom. And then after that, we just go to ozone limiter. As you could see, it's not doing anything. Literally, and this is pretty much like I'll probably do some EQing for my mastering, but that's it. Like a lot of guys I see like 50,000 things on their masters. It's just like a complete disaster. I don't even know how they control the mix. You know, everything is so basic. So like the thing that I would mention is, for example, I always group my my kick and my bass together. So I got a compressor here. Never too much, like don't squash it. Like look, like don't do that. Don't go above 5 gain reduction. Just enough to kind of control it and glue things together, right? And what's it called? And then so for the, you know, for the rookie mix, most of the time you're gonna probably see a master that looks like this. I'm gonna go here. So right now it's not squashed, but let's go ahead and squash it. Turn off this gain. Yeah, now it's gonna basically look like a sausage, so there's not gonna be any kind of no dynamics, you know. So if I was to mix this, I mean, I'd probably go like -4. There you go, sitting at around like -9 gain reduction RMS. So that's pretty much it. So creating space, also obviously majority of the time you're not gonna see too much pan work. Like for example with our hat, it's not panned here, but you could see here, you know, it's moving left to right. You know, if I don't want to do that, I'd probably, you know, maybe pan this to the left, shaker to the right. You know, that's just creating width. Most beginner producers, they know about the pan, but they just simply don't use it, unfortunately. So start using those pans or using auto pan, whatever is more fun. So I think that's it. Those are the 3 main areas of our mix difference. So let's take a look at one last time. The pro versus the rookie. I'm sure you guys can hear the difference. So definitely massive difference in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. And by the way, before I let you go, be sure to grab a PDF file that I'm including for you guys as a free gift. There's going to be a link down in the description. It's going to be a PDF of my top tips on how to improve your mix in 5 minutes. It's going to be extremely helpful for you guys to go through that checklist, have it in your studio at all times when you're done with your track. It's going to tremendously change your life and make your mixes a whole lot better. Now you know the 3 main differences that make you stand out from a beginner to a pro producer, which is sound design, arrangement, and mixing. Let me know in comments down below on the area that you struggle with the most. I read all of the comments and I'll be able to reply and help you guys out. Be sure to subscribe to our channel because the next video we're doing is going to help you out a lot. Why your mix sucks and why you're not getting signed to some of your favorite labels. We're going to cover all of that in the next video on NoFace Academy. Again, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I hope it helps. And don't forget to download your free PDF on how to fix your mix under 5 minutes in the description down below. We'll see you guys next time.